I'm Jan Howell and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm all about showing you tips and tricks for all your DIY projects, your sewing, your crafting, and even projects around the house. In a previous tutorial, I showed you how to put your fabric, your batting on a quilting frame. In this tutorial, in part 4, I'm going to show you how you can square up your edges of your quilt and get them ready to put the binding on. So grab your quilt, a rotary cutter, a ruler, and a mat, and let's get started. So this quilt that I made in the previous tutorial, I ended up doing some big stitches following the stripes in this fabric, and then I flipped it over and tied little ties with little crochet thread. I think it ended up being really cute. Now the reason I added these ties was because the lines, the stitching lines, were too far apart. Now they were close enough in distance this way, but not this way. So there was a lot of fabric that was not sewn together. And when you're using cotton batting, that's an important factor to consider. If I was using a polyester batting, that wouldn't be an issue. But I had to add that extra stabilization with those other stitches, and I think it really turned out cute. When we put the fabric on the frame, we put the backing, which was this side, first, and we made that bigger than the top fabric. So now we need to trim off that excess and get it square. So I'm going to show you some tips on how to do that. I encourage you to start on the corners first, and you'll use this technique on small quilts and larger quilts. I'm going to place the large piece down. We need to trim off any excess, and something to consider and keep in mind is that when we sew on the binding, we'll be sewing just a little bit bigger than 3/8 or a quarter of an inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch into the fabric cut. You can use a regular ruler. This is 24 inches by 6 inches, or you can use this square cutter, and I like to use that as well. So I'll start using this, and then we'll use this to connect the two corners. So if you have a stripe or something on your fabric, you want to keep that parallel, those lines parallel to the cut edge. And if you have the selvage edge, it also will help you get a straight. If you've pieced a quilt together and you have blocks and the edges are kind of, one fabric will come out further than the other, no worries, we're going to just get a basic cut, and you might be cutting a little bit off, but that's okay. We just want a good straight line. So I'm going to find that edge down here and move it over, because this fabric is a little bit frayed on the edge. And so you see that I'll be cutting a little bit off there. No worries. I like to start with a new blade on your rotary cutter, and if you don't know how to change that out, and it's been a while since you've cut it, I would recommend doing that. And I have a video showing you how to change your blade and take care of all the rotary cutting basics. And you can press your ruler down really well, or I like to use a weight. This is just a normal hand weight. It's a 5-pound weight, and especially when I'm using my long ruler, this is really helpful to keep that from slipping. I'm going to go ahead and make that cut. So I think I might cut this up a little bit more towards the center, and all you need to do is line up that edge and this edge of your longer ruler and make that cut. You don't have to go all the way to the end, because I'm going to go to the next corner first. So I have cut this a little bit because I wanted to play around with the edge. And let's just see how that lines up. Well, it looks like it lines up pretty nicely with that cut that I've already made. I'm going to flip it to the other corner. And now that we know this is a true cut and this is a true cut, we can join that. And I really like this retractable rotary cutter. It has saved me from cutting my fingers where I have done that a few times. And a rotary cutter cut is not pretty. All right, I'm going to join those ends with the longer ruler. And it really is ideal to cut away from you instead of like towards my arm. So I am going to stand up and make that cut. Join these two ends, or I could do it this way too. If you have a big enough cutting mat, which I do. And that's all there is to it. Now we're on to my favorite part of making a quilt, is putting on the binding. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found that helpful in your quilt making. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you do that. Click on the bell so you can be notified when I put new things up. If you want to find other patterns, crafting, tutorials, and other DIY projects, and my patterns, look on my website, YouMakeItSimple.com, where you'll find those. And stay tuned for the next video in the series where I'll show you how to cut, measure, and apply the binding.